Um, Hello. It's, I guess another car rant. Um, just in light to a lot of new revelations of the happenings of humans. I think a lot of us are starting to actually, as much as they try to demonize and tarnish the word woke, I think a lot of Americans are starting to wake up, ironically, to how this government actually treats its citizens, how it is structured for the importance of a few at the expense of many. Um, I've realized, especially studying history and my passion being theology, not being that I subscribe to any theology, but just how history and theology blend together. Um, I come to realize that uh, a lot of this shit that is going on this planet can really be like summed up back into one landmass. And it's something that I've realized since I've been on this one platform. There is a YouTube channel, or it's a podcast. I think the guy's name is Matt Kim, and another guy named Dan. They're both of Asian descent. They come from the land. Well, they're people are from the landmass of Eurasia, and that goes into the point. They created a social platform called Soju. It's SOJ.OOO. And on said platform, what I have come to realize, or I see a lot of, is it is a cesspool of white people, Europeans. I like to use the word Eurasians because it sums up my thought process a lot better. They essentially just pointing blame to Jews. Everything is Jewish people's fault. They did everything. They're doing everything. They're the main issue behind all of the world's woes. And as I get on the platform, I also see the same people that are blaming the Jews having posts like talking about black people, talking about, oh, we was kings, and kind of denigrating on the Afrocentrist ideology, especially when pertaining to history, ancient Africa, ancient Egypt to be specific. So I took it upon myself to create a post saying I think all Eurasians should go back to their continent. And the reason why I say Eurasia is because it is one large landmass. It's one large tectonic plate that encompasses all of the entire region of Western Europe, Eastern Europe, and I guess Asian countries. It's still one landmass. It's one big ass landmass. The Indian tectonic plate is not a part of the same thing, so that's why we have the Himalayan mountains and all that shit, because it's a different tectonic plate that is rubbing up against the Eurasian plate, which makes the mountains, if y'all know anything about the geology. But the Eurasian plate, I think you can kind of tie back majority of the globe's issues back to that continent. And the reason why I say that is because looking throughout history, the descendants of the Eurasian continent has colonized, genocided, and or committed some type of atrocity on every single other continent on the planet besides Antarctica. Every single one of them. Every single one of them. And then like the reason why I keep harkening on this continent is because it puts together a whole group of people that constantly try to separate. Like whenever you bring up genocides and shit like that, They'd be like, oh, the Mongols did this, that, and the fifth, and they were so bad. I'm like, yeah, but they're Eurasians. And then you have the whole concept of world wars that we fight, which is really just European tribal fucking clans going back and forth, which they always have done. They have a history of warfare. That's the reason why they are constantly conquering, is because they have a history of warfare. That's really all their people have known to do. I really cannot know or tell you a peaceful time there has ever been in Eurasia where there wasn't one European fighting against another European over some land. They literally have had 100-year wars. During the I'm not 100% sure when the 100-year war was. It could be during the dark ages of European. Like, why is world history such like so European or Eurasian centric? Like, that's the one thing that really gets on my nerves. Being that Homo sapiens started in Africa, the race, the race of Homo sapiens started in Africa. There has to be a distinction between race and ethnicity. It's not the same fucking thing. We are all the Homo sapien race. But there's different ethnicities amongst us. So when people do DNA testing, like, oh, I don't have any DNA that comes back out of Africa, are you a Homo sapien? I think that's the question you should start asking yourself. Or are you more Neanderthal and Denisovan than you are of Homo sapien descent? And yes, there are some Africans that have a ghost DNA. Nobody knows where it comes from. We haven't found any paleontology or archaeology to substantiate what this ghost DNA is in some African descendants. However, I will put this question to you. If black people and other people, the minorities of the planet, are constantly seen as evil, we do the worst shit, we are the worst when it comes down to society's members of society, give me one example of a non-Eurasian descendant conquering and colonizing a whole continent. Give me one. A whole continent. And I'm not talking about just a people group. I'm talking about a continent, because Eurasians are the only ones on this planet that have conquered and colonized, and committed mass genocides of whole people. They're the only ones on the planet that have done that on a continent basis. They're the only ones. Africa never went up into Eurasia and completely colonized it and conquered it when it could have, when Egypt was the superpower during the Bronze Age. They definitely could have did that shit, but they didn't, because they had different beliefs and teachings of harmony and ma'at and all different types of things like that. Sub-Saharan Africa, that being the true cradle of where Homo sapiens come from, they never spread it and colonized and conquered. Well, actually, if you think about it, they did. That would be the first, because we conquered the Denisovans and the Neanderthals, interbred with them, and breeded them out of existence. Huh. That kind of that makes sense now. Is all the aggression from Eurasians, the DNA barking of their ancestors, because they were genetically wiped out from the planet? Because we don't have any more Neanderthals and Denisovans on this planet. It's only Homo sapiens. And Neanderthal and Denisovan DNA is not found in Africans or any other mammal besides Eurasians. That's the only place that it really derives from. So is all the aggression that we see from the descendants of Eurasia, is it really because their ancestors were killed off? I'm sorry, I just kind of made, that was like a eureka moment for myself at that moment. But I think that kind of, you know, points it back. But going back to this whole Soju app thing real quick, and one thing that I find really hilarious, like the hypocrisy of it all. It's like, these certain Eurasians be like, oh, Jews did this, Jews are doing that, blah 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 blah, constantly pointing the finger back to Jews. But when a black person comes and says something about, hey, you know, y'all have enslaved us for hundreds of years, you know, constantly fuck with us throughout the entire 20th century, where laws and different statutes, even though y'all thought, you know, y'all were free or whatever, but like the government is constantly discriminating and fucking us over and over again. Whenever we get together and build our own communities, we have incidents like Tulsa, Oklahoma, or we have incidents like Rosewood, Florida, or we have floodings like Lake Lanier here in Georgia. We have different shit like that pops off. But there is nothing to be said about those incidents. That's just, I guess, the American way, you know, like manifest destiny, using religion as a tool or as a ploy or as a means of justification for completely genociding and erasing of an entire people group. Religion does that shit. Not humans, religion does that shit. I'm sorry. Religion was the moral guidings and teachings of the Arab slave trade, of the transatlantic slave trade, of slavery, Jim Crow, apartheid, Gaza, the Holocaust. Religion, just straight up, that's what it is. And I really wish people, like, they're not, because humans, for whatever reason, have a need to worship something outside of themselves. I can't say that I'm not guilty of it. I literally have goddamn Alabama tatted on me, like the Alabama team tatted on me, because that was my favorite team. I'm the only member of my family that can say that they're from Alabama. So, and Alabama was really running shit. I was a fan of Alabama. Mama's a fan of Alabama, even though she's from Columbus. Nevertheless, that's neither here nor there. But humans do have a need to worship something outside of themselves. And as long as we allow ancient humans that wrote down shit to describe the supernatural tendencies of the world, that since science couldn't explain shit, we attributed thunder and lightning to gods. And Yahweh was a storm deity, just like Baal, a storm deity. So whenever lightning and shit came about, oh, that's my God showing his strength. That's how this shit came about. So, not to discredit like spirituality, because I would lean more towards that, but I'm more agnostic to anything else. I just know that organized and structural religion is not the way to go at all. And the reason why black people are still stuck in where the fuck we are right now in this country is because we're still waiting on Jesus to come back and do something for us. And that motherfucker is taking a mighty long ass time, 2,000 goddamn years to do anything. That's literally about to be a 2,000 year wait. 2033 is not too far away. And y'all motherfuckers is still sitting and waiting for something that is never coming back. No matter what the fuck Israel does, no matter what Christian evangelicals are going to do and trying to help Israel build the third temple, that's not bringing Jesus back. It's just going to be another catastrophe on the face of the planet out of religious and zealot beliefs. That's it. Because as soon as they touch the Dome of the Rock, it's over with. It's up and it's stuck. And Christian nationalists and evangelicals want to do this shit so that way they can bring the coming of Jesus back onto this earth so much faster. That's why we have such a marriage between America and Israel. It's because America is found on Christian Judeo-Christian values, is what they say, right? And apparently that's true. That's why they condone slavery and the condemnation of the other constantly. And that, like I said, that shit's evident. And that's found all up and through that fucking religion. All of Abrahamic faiths. All of them. And until the world can start looking at the Abrahamic faiths as Middle Eastern mythology, like how we have Greek mythology, Egyptian mythology, Norse mythology, African mythology, until we can look at the Middle East as having their own sets of mythology, we ain't gonna do shit. We're gonna keep constantly killing each other over and over again on a global scale because of some dumbass decision of one man fucking with two bitches because his main one got mad and said that I'm too old to have a kid, so go sleep with my slave. And that shit started all of this dumb shit. And I'm talking about the story of Abraham. And the mere fact that humans like literally can tie, and we have the writings and we can go back and we can look and see what transpired according to them, and y'all still believe this shit, is astonishing to me. It really is. Like I don't get it. I don't want to get it, if I'm being honest. Like, I don't subscribe to it. I don't worship anything. I don't worship myself. Cause I don't put myself above anybody else. I'm an observer. I observe shit. And I just so happen to be of melanated descent. And I do understand that the first Homo sapien on the planet was a melanated individual. And I understand what melanin does for the human body. I also know that melanin is essentially the same thing as chlorophyll to plants. Why most plants are on the planet is green. Not saying that every plant on the planet is green. There's plants come in different shades and colors, but the chemical compound of chlorophyll is predominantly green. Just like how the chemical compound of melanin is predominantly brown or darker hues. That is why trees are brown. With the bark. And even then, that still comes in different colors. However, it is the superior genetic trait to have darker skin. And not to shit on anybody else, but it does seem like those without darker skin lack the agape love for humanity than the ones that do. And I'm not saying that everyone that does have dark skin has agape love for humanity, because there's a lot of dumbass black people on this planet as well. A whole lot of dumbass black people, if I'm being honest. Huh. The police just rode by and they're pulling by real slow. So as a black man, I'm sorry, my triggers, even though I ain't doing nothing besides just sitting in my car. Yeah, honestly, this is going to get to my real thought of something that I've come to realize. I think since this country is evidently never going to do anything to correct its original wrongs, it doesn't want to give reparations. It gives reparations to everybody else. Jews got reparations for some shit that America didn't even do to them. The Japanese got, well, the entire Asian community, not entire Asian community, but those that were subjugated to concentration camps in America during the time of World War II were granted reparations. The Native Americans were granted reparations, even though they're still being anally fucked almost on a regular basis. But yet they still received reparations. However, there has never been anything done. Anything done. And I'm so glad people are bringing attention to 40 acres and a mule, knowing that shit is never going to happen. Because the moment that you give black people their own land and allow us to do our own thing, which we have been trying to do and have been systemically kept away from doing, the moment that we get a chance to do that shit for ourselves, this country will fall. Or it will definitely be a lot different than what it has been. So, knowing that that shit is probably never going to happen. At the 20-minute mark of this video, I personally think that all black people, or the ones of the African diaspora, should go back to Africa. And once we get back to Africa, I think we should shut the borders. The richest continent on this fucking planet is Africa, without a shadow of a doubt. Eurasia is so minerally dense and naturally poor. That's why they have to raid and conquer so fucking much. It's because the land source itself was not sustaining at all. Africa, on the other hand, it is. Most of the natural resources and the things that we need, like cobalt, coltan, diamonds, gold, all of that shit is in abundance in Africa, and has always been and will always be, unless the Eurasian descendants completely bleed the country dry for the sake of the rest of their descendants across the globe. Because we know damn sure that is not necessarily net benefiting everybody. Yes. Oh yeah, if it wasn't for Europeans, those people in Africa would still be in mud huts and all that. Man, shut the fuck up. We taught y'all history. We taught y'all civilization. We taught y'all culture. Don't argue with me, argue with Herodotus. Argue with Aristotle. Argue with Plato. And they tell you what the people look like. Don't argue with me. I think we should all go back to Africa. Finally erase all of the borders that was drawn by Europeans. Come together as a people. Figure out and come up with an agenda that will help us and the people that are like-minded. And we shut the doors. We shut the fucking doors. And then once we do that, we can grow and rebuild and become what we were genuinely supposed to become. And we won't have to conquer any other land masses in order to do so. We don't have to do that at all. I'm not preaching conquering other people. I don't want to do that. I want y'all to leave us the fuck alone at this point. Please. And I'm not saying that each and every one of y'all are bad. I could never, being that the people that I interact with the most are Eurasians. And some of them are mighty fine people. But I'm sorry, when we look at the collective, nah, man. You see where this country is going. This country is only headed down the path that is currently down. Matter of fact, not even just this country. The planet is headed down the path that is currently headed down with global warming. We have economic crisis going across the entire globe, famines, etc. All that shit is happening because of Eurasians. And those who are in control are typically Eurasians. IMF, the World Bank, Eurasians. If you don't know what the IMF is or what the World Bank is, please go do some research. Eurasians. And if you don't want to be hated by the rest of the globe, then get your shit together and stop acting like fucking primitive, recessive genetic monkeys. Stop killing everybody. Stop colonizing everybody. Stop controlling everybody. If you don't like us, go back to your fucking continent. And that's all I gotta say.